All right, so I'm very excited that I had people ask about number 3, or part 3 on the homework that's due soon. So let's look at this example. You don't really need the link at all. This is just where they got this data from. So this is in December 2008. 78% of households had a traditional landline telephone, 80% of households had cell phones, and 60% had both. So it says, suppose we randomly select a household in December 2008. Make a two-way table that displays the sample space of this chance process. So we're going to go ahead and write on this and put in some values. So we know that 100% has to be here. I'm not going to put the percent symbol. I'm still using my mouse to write right now. My Mobi is still out of commission. But we know this has to be 100%. So we put in the totals, what percent of people own a cell phone? Well, it says 80% had cell phones. So we're going to put an 80 here. And then it says 78% had traditional landline telephone. So landline, we put 78% here. Then the last information it gives us is 60% had both. So we put a 60 in here. And from this information, we can fill out the rest by totaling. We know that we have to get total. So this has to be 18 right here. This has to be 22 right here. This has to be 20 because it has to add up to 100. This has to be 2, and this has to be 20. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in your worksheet when I'm grading it. And that's part A. Part A is done. Okay. So the real thing to understand here is that this both means it's in the intersection. This 60 goes here. And then the overall percents or probabilities here go into the total column. Okay. Now, how do we transfer that into a Venn diagram? Well, in this center section, that's the intersection. That's where both events happen. So this both is going to go there. So we're going to put 60 here. Now, we're not going to put, so for cell phone, 80 doesn't go here. Because look at the whole blue circle. It now holds 140%, and that's not possible. 140% is not possible. What goes in here is what's left. These are the people with only a cell phone, but they don't actually have a landline. They're in the blue, but they're not in the yellow. So that's this 20%. And notice this. The whole circle now adds up to the total of 80%, which is what they gave us. Hopefully that makes sense. For the yellow over here, we have landline, but no cell phone. So how many people have a landline but no cell phone? Well, that's 18%. And you'll notice that the 60 and the 18 add up to 78. Now we need this entire sample space to add up to 100%. So we have 20 plus 60 plus 18. So we're not at 100% yet. We still have to deal with this 2. Where do I put the no cell phone, no landline group? Well, they actually go outside of both circles. So this is the correct sample space. Okay, this is how you should answer B, and hopefully that makes sense. Ask me follow-up questions if you have any on that. But hopefully that makes sense. If you need to rewind and see the thinking again, you have that option on this YouTube video. Let's answer part C and D. If you're having trouble with part C and D, it usually helps to think through symbolically what it wants to know. It says at least one of the 2 types. So this is a good question. We haven't seen one like this in our examples. So that means, how would we phrase this in terms and what we've written in our notes? Is this the or? Is this the and? Is it just one probability? Is it conditional? Well, I'll go ahead and say it's not conditional, because it doesn't say, hey, we know that they own a landline, or we know that they own a cell phone. Now, what's the probability they also own the other one, right? That's not how this one's set up. This is saying at least one. So it could be either a landline or a cell phone. So we're looking at the union of the events. Let's write this up symbolically. Probability of a landline or, and we'll use the or symbol here, a cell phone. Now I could have put A and B. Hopefully that's okay, that you don't need me to do that. But this L means landline, C means cell phone. So either of them will work. And you can choose which one of these you want. In our notes, we talked about how the let me pull up here's the PowerPoint. Hold on, it's another one. Let me pause real quick. We talked about this idea of the union of the events. In a Venn diagram, it's the whole shaded region right here, the green area. So what that means for us is I can just add these three up to get my answer. On the two-way table, it's going to be these sections here: cell phone, no cell phone but landline, or cell phone, no landline. It's these three which relate to this. We also have this other rule. This is the general addition rule for two events, the OR statement. So you add their probabilities and subtract the intersection because it double counts. Okay, and we discussed that for this example here with how when we did the OR statement, if we just added 103 and 90, that caused it to be over 1% or over 100%. So in this case, the best way I think to answer this problem is to add up these three areas, which is going to be 98%. We already actually kind of did that with in our calculator. 98. We got 20, 60, and 18. That adds up to 98%. So this is 98% here. Next, find the probability the household has cell phone only. Okay, only a cell phone. So that means we want a cell phone, but we don't want a landline. So what does that look like? We want probability of a cell phone, but we have to make sure, if I do just probability of cell phone, check this out, I get this entire circle and the 60 is included. So we want to get rid of this 60. Okay, we want to get rid of this 60. So symbolically, we're going to put this. So cell phone, and then we have the intersection, the and. We want no landline. Okay, so no landline. Look at the table. Where does that happen? Cell phone, no landline. Right here, it's this 20%. The Venn diagram actually makes this pretty easy. This is where only people have cell phones, no landlines at all. So that is what we want. It's the 20% right there. And hopefully that was helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, let me know.